Number 70 to the house.
You want to hold?
I've never done a hold before, but sure.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm
Yep.
scared.
I got it.
Okay.
Ellen Strickland. This is number 70, Ellen Strickland. Rides for PAA out of Fontana, California. Pasadena Athletic Association and women 35 plus. For 10 seconds till start, Ellen. You have a great ride.
Okay, I'm scared.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Ellen's underway.
Welcome back to A Faster Me. You are joining us out here on Fiesta Island in San Diego. 20K time trial. This is my third time trial. Well, I guess we had one as a team, but anyway, so I am off to a pretty good start here. I think a little adrenaline has kicked in. I'm going a little bit maybe harder than I need to. I do see a rider in front of me that I was catching pretty fast, and I decided to just settle in and try to ride a little bit steadier, kind of see where I'm at. So here we go.
Yeah, so this is a pretty good time trial here. It's on a 4-mile circuit. 20K is 3 laps. The 40K is 6 laps. And I believe they said there was more than 90 participants. And there's various categories, men's, women's, age groups. There was also a 2-man team or 2-rider team and a 4-rider team. I think there was only one 4-rider team with the SDBC women. But yeah, it was a good time trial. A lot of people out there. It kept the track really busy. And as a spectator, it was pretty fun to watch just because you always had someone coming by, and not like your typical time trial where you only see someone once. And then again at the finish, this is you saw people for multiple laps, and it was pretty good. The section that Ellen's on right now is all downwind. And then when you make the turnaround, which is a big, like I said, a circuit, the second half is all uphill.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and like you mentioned, a lot more people out there because it was a lap. So you saw people that you were passing, people that were passing you. Kind of gave you a lot more to focus on than just your suffering and the watts that you're doing. Here was going into kind of a section that had some debris on the road, some water. I wasn't really sure how tight the corners were, as we had previewed the course the night before in a car, and it's kind of getting dark. The road looked pretty messed up in a few sections, so I did come out of my aero bars here just to kind of see what it was like. Turns out that it looked worse than it was. The corners were not that tight, and despite some dirt on the road, it didn't cause any
Stability issues
with the bike. You just rolled through it. The biggest factor was the wind. So I think we heard from a veteran out here who's done it many times that this was in maybe the top 3 worst conditions, which was actually kind of nice to hear because it wasn't so bad. It was a little bit cold and a few sprinkles when we first got there, but it stayed pretty dry, and it actually, I thought, was a pretty good day for suffering on your bike.
Yeah, it was really cold though. It says 52 degrees in the corner up there, which that might have been the true air temperature, but it was really windy, so the wind chill was probably, closer to 30 degrees than 50 degrees. It was really freezing. A lot of the riders were shaking when they were done, but definitely it was a very cold morning.
You heard Anthony mention all the different categories of riders out here. The rider who was scheduled to be in my category did not show up, so I was the only rider in my category, and I'm out here with a teammate who did the open category, 1 through 4, I believe.
1 through 5.
Is it 1 through 5?
Mm-hmm.
And the person in her category didn't show up, so she was the only one in her category. So it's pretty cool, just the different categories. There was a woman's 70 plus and a woman's 80 plus category, and definitely inspiring to see some older women out here racing. So
Yeah, it's the beauty of the bicycle. It's like the fountain of youth. So, yeah. So with time trials, that's one thing that's pretty interesting. Like, you never know, like who you're racing against, kind of, and if someone shows up or not, it kind of doesn't matter because you're still just racing against the clock. So that's kind of the beauty of time trials is, it's a individual kind of event, and it's just really a test of yourself. You're just really testing yourself and running against the clock. So if you're racing against 100 people or no one, it's it's the same effort.
Yeah, it's a challenge I really like. I've enjoyed the time trials that I've done, and I look forward to doing some more. So we use this kind of as training for Valley of the Sun. So I think that time trial is about 10 miles. This is about 12, so hopefully gives a little bit of a idea what that's going to be like.
Yeah, so here Ellen keeps looking back to see if someone's passing, and she wants to pass this rider, but not exactly sure how to do it. But honestly, when you're making the pass, it's your responsibility to be safe. So just keep your eyes in front of you, Ellen. If someone wants to pass Ellen, it's their responsibility to make a safe pass. So if you need to say stay, just to have the person hold their position while you pass, you can, or just tell them left side or whatever the case may be. Everyone's supposed to be passing on the left side, but you really shouldn't be taking too much time to look behind you to see if someone's there or not. Especially a quick glance might be okay, but really it's that rider's responsibility to pass you safely.
Yeah, and unfortunately some riders didn't announce themselves, so I definitely was more nervous kind of passing and making movements. The road is also a little bit narrow, so there is not a ton of space out here, especially with some of the dirt and sand. And I think the announcer at the end said, if there's a puddle, there's probably a pothole under it, so be careful. But even though it looks a little bit dusty, it actually wasn't so bad when you were out there. It didn't feel unsafe, didn't feel unstable, but looking at it in the video, it does look a little bit scary.
Yeah, this is probably one of the worst sections right here with like dirt, but it's actually just a thin layer of dirt across the road, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Your tires just roll over it pretty smooth. Yeah, that water section too, that was like the only section with water, and you can see the people that have done Fiesta Island a lot, they're like flying through these through this course, well into like 30 miles per hour. So yeah, it looks bad, but it really wasn't that that unstable or anything.
It was also closed off to cars, which was nice because I can't imagine having cars out here that are trying to navigate their way around. So it was nice to just have bikes out there. You saw a few runners here and there off to the side, but it was nice to just have bikes only out here. And I think knowing the course for hopefully next time we'll be able to shave some time off, because it is a fast course, and knowing it, I think you can definitely know where to put in a little bit more effort and maintain speed.
Yeah, I think the key too is, or not the key, but just the characteristics of this course. There's only 95 feet of elevation total in the 20K, so it's a very flat course, and the biggest thing was just the wind. As you can see, the temperature even went down to 50, and that's probably because the wind exposure on this side. And then on the side that's covering the wind a little bit, the temperature is 52. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is, because most of that is just because of wind chill. It's not, that it's really 2 different degrees on one side of the course than the other. It's more that this side is just exposed to the wind, so the sensor on the computer is reading a lot colder than it is on the other side where the wind is a little more sheltered.
Yeah, the wind definitely played a pretty big role, and my cadence dropped pretty significantly. I saw it down like 50s, 60s for a second. Here is the rider that I had passed. He passed me again, so we're out here, battling. But
Well,
I think I definitely can work on shifting more consistently and more. I shifted a couple times. It was something I was working on from the last TT where I, didn't shift as much, but I'm definitely not utilizing all the momentum I think that I can. And
that's why he actually passed you right there, because you just passed him, and then your cadence went down to the high 60s, low 70s, which means you're losing momentum. You went down to 18 miles per hour, and he kept that same speed and passed you. So if you were able to shift a little sooner and not let your legs get bogged down, he probably would not have caught you. I've caught up right there.
Yeah, definitely some room for improvement. Looking forward to practicing it in the future.
So I think you should be coming up pretty soon now to the start finish, where you'll be finishing one lap. Ellen did roughly, I think, 11 minutes a lap, something like that, for the 4 miles, which is pretty good. When you come to a course and you've never seen it before, you don't know it, you haven't ridden it, it's a headwind all the way up one side. Yeah, it's a pretty good time.
Another rider passing.
Yeah, some of these guys were flying.
Yeah, and pretty soon Georgetta will pass me. She was on a road bike, and you'll see she comes flying by me with a really high cadence. Should be coming up pretty soon. There she goes. In a very aero position, so definitely something to work on a road bike. I think she was probably just as aero, if not more so, on a road bike than I am in my aero bars on a TT, but guess the ex-Romanian national champion can pass me.
Yeah.
Not too disappointed.
Yeah, could you imagine though, if she gets a nice road bike, a time trial bike, she'll be flying. She's already going fast enough, but just a time trial bike, they're so much faster once you get them up to speed. So, yeah.
She said she went out a little bit too hard, so she was flying this first lap and then settled in a little bit or died a little bit because her time, I think, was 3 minutes off mine for the 20K, so I was not too unhappy with that.
Yeah. Basically, like a minute a lap for the most part.
And Marlena was only a minute off her time, so I think that's a great job. And special shout out to Marlena and her parents for hosting us for the night,
the Bemis family,
to be down here a little bit closer and not have to get up at 3 a.m. to come down. So that was nice.
Yeah, originally I wasn't going to come at all, but unfortunately Ellen had an accident in my truck like a couple months ago, and they gave us the truck back saying it was fixed, and we drove the truck out to Montrose on Saturday, and it was stuck in gear, like it wouldn't shift from first gear. Over revving the truck the whole way, and the blinkers weren't working, stuff like that. So we had to take it back to the shop, and I ended up having to drive a different car down here to transport the bikes and stuff. So I brought the TT bike out because I was going to try to race as well, but then I just decided not to, and it's kind of stuck to the plan.
I think you would have loved this course. Nice and flat, not too many hills. I think you would like to suffer out here also.
For sure. When I was there, I was like, yeah, well, I'm here. I should have been riding instead of sitting out there in the cold taking pictures.
And I think that's the person I had passed again, I think. But I had passed a woman who was in the 70 or 80 plus category a minute ago. So just definitely great to see all the different types of riders and competitors out here.
Yeah, that was a pretty close pass there because you were passing someone else.
Yes.
So that's kind of like a 3-wide pass, which, again, it's not that it's so unsafe or anything, but I think that rider with his speed going so much faster than you and the other rider, he probably should have said something. But, he made it, so of course it doesn't matter.
Yes, that's what I think you see me look back again. I definitely didn't want to have that situation where someone didn't announce himself and I'm moving over. Even if it's not my fault, I would feel like I caused an accident.
Yeah, but on the flip side, you can end up causing an accident by moving by looking backwards, especially like you said, with narrow terrain, some sand here and there. you'd hate to look back and not see something in front of you. So yeah, just leave it up to them. I know it's a little scary, but it's on them to make a safe pass. And yeah, I don't know why people don't like saying anything, but they should. It just makes it safer for everyone. Just like on the track, if you just say stay, tell the person to hold their position and you make the pass. Yeah, because you don't. Same with the track. You don't want people looking back all the time.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you're just out here suffering. I think I may have passed somebody and not said anything, but I think I made announcements that I was passing each time. But sometimes you're just suffering and, maybe not thinking as clearly or paying attention to all the things that you need to.
Right. Yeah, I think, just talking about the debris on the course, I saw that the organizers came out and swept, like, before the race. I think they tried to sweep out, like, spots that were, in, like, critical areas or whatever. So that's pretty cool just for someone to come out, scout the course, and kind of clear it of debris. As far as I know, too, there weren't any incident.
Yeah, I think the only incident or near incident I heard of was with a few people finishing.
Oh, yeah.
One person stopped, one person was all running in the cones at the end,
Yeah.
kind of just happy to be finished.
Yeah, there was some serious suffering coming down to the line, which is great.
Yeah, I definitely could have suffered a little bit more, but I did a nice, hard effort. And here were some people passing, and it looks like they're drafting. I'm not sure if they are, but it's kind of how it appeared at times.
Yeah, drafting's not allowed. So yeah, you either have to make the pass or you have to fall back. And if you're not able to make the pass within so many seconds, you're technically supposed to fall back.
There were some vehicles out on the course also that had kind of some flashing lights, and I think that those were the officials. So I'm not sure if they were trying to watch for, people drafting or anything. Here is one of the recumbent bikes all the way to the left-hand side, and they were a little bit more center, and the person in front of me passed on the right. So I didn't really have any other place to pass except on the right, even though I think we're supposed to pass on the left, but I'm not sure if there's different rules, so I guess I can't speak to that completely.
Yeah, I know there was one person that had their finish questioned. I don't know exactly why. I just remember them announcing it at the end that they said they'd have to have a ruling on someone's finish. But yeah, hopefully it's all good and everyone, keeps the spirit of competition well, and there's no need to cheat or anything. So yeah, it's just good competition against the clock, and that's just what it is.
One thing that I really like about time trials is almost everybody has about the same start time because you go off in 30-second increments. Everybody's done about the same time, so you're able to kind of have a whole event in,
Hour
1 to
or
2
something.
hours, depending
Yeah.
on. I mean, the 40K, I think the longest was maybe an hour and 9 minutes. So with the setup and kind of waiting for everybody, 2 hours or so, and we're done. So it's kind of nice to be done with the event early.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique type event. I think more people should do them. Like last year when we did state championship, there was hardly anyone there. I think there's more people at this event than there was at the state championship, which is just kind of weird. I mean, it's a real title. It doesn't matter if you're racing against 10 people, one person, whatever it is. It's just kind of weird that, nobody signs up for time trials.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it's just not popular, Sometimes people don't know about them either. And I'm guessing, I'm guessing it's just not as popular because obviously if it was, more people would be there. I mean, the crit races, everyone says that they don't like crits. They don't want to crash, this and that. Well, you're not going to crash in a time trial for the most part, but no one does it. And on the same token, everyone says that they're afraid of crits. They don't want to ride crits. They'd rather do road races, and then a road race gets announced and nobody signs up for it. So I don't know. I think part of it's an accountability thing, and I think the other part is just, they're not really well advertised and they're not that popular.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think it's also a lot of suffering on your own. So, in a crit, you're able to have some strategy, you're able to utilize the draft, you're able to be kind of around people. It has some similarities to a group ride, riding with your friends. A time trial is pretty lonely. This one had some more people, but typically you're just out there with your thoughts, the wind, the bike, and if you dig deep, there's a whole lot of suffering.
Well, that's the accountability piece that I was talking about, because there's no hiding. So as an example, someone like myself, I have a low FTP, so I'm not a great time trialist or anything like that. But in a crit, with the draft and everything, if I play my cards right, I can end up having a pretty good finish, even though a lot of other riders are stronger than I am, like power-wise. So when you do a time trial, it's kind of hard to hide. And, so a lot of people just don't like to see that time matched up against everyone else.
Yeah, I was joking that time trial is perfect for me because I don't draft so well anyway, so I won't have a problem not drafting here. I can just be out and ride in the wind like I sometimes do in the crits.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. Yeah.
Looking at the bright side, here's the time trial is my time to ride in the wind all by myself.
Yeah, and honestly, time trials are pretty good training also. If you call yourself a breakaway rider or anything like that, it's one of the ways you can train. A lot of people do not train putting in like 15, 20, 30-minute efforts. Your average rider probably just jumps into group rides, no structured training, and the group rides are all start and stop, little 5-minute effort here and there, 3-minute effort, but not too many people go and put in a 30-minute straight effort as hard as they can go.
It is definitely a challenge, but one that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think this is closing out your second lap now. Like I said, I think you're roughly around 11 minutes per lap. So you're passing one of I don't know who that was that you were passing, but yeah, this is coming up to the close of the second lap here. And some of the people that went off earlier, they might be finishing now. So it can get a little congested here. If you'll see at the beginning, because you can't really tell how hard the wind is blowing, but there's going to be some cones at the start finish line that tells you if you're finishing to turn to to pull to the right side, and if you're not. So these cones here, just to give you an example of how hard the wind was blowing, is those cones were getting blown over like every single lap, and we were there at the start finish trying to pick them back up, put rocks on them, stack a couple cones together to keep the signs up, stuff like that. But they're getting blown over virtually every lap.
Wow, I had no idea. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to see. I couldn't see the writing. I figured one was the finish and one was for the lap, but when you're flying by it the first couple laps, I just assumed that that's what it was, but I couldn't really see what was written until I was already on it.
Yeah, I mean, there were some close calls with it, not just falling over, but sometimes we couldn't tell who was on a 40K and who was on a 20K, so it was just a little bit hard to know if somebody missed the finish or not and did an extra lap or whatever. But it's up to you to count them and be accountable for your own laps or how far the distance you're riding.
Marlena's mom also came out to spectate in the cold, so it was definitely nice to have some people cheering you on as you went around the course. There was also a handful of people that were with some cowbells cheering for everybody, so it was a much more, encouraging time trial, just with spectators that could kind of see, unlike a course that's maybe an out and back that people would only see you one time if you were doing it. So this was an opportunity for people to watch more, see you more frequently.
Yeah, and compared to like the Pyru time trial, it's good that you get to pass other people. Because that gives you kind of a little bit of a measuring stick of like if you're still going pretty good or not. I mean, Pyru is just you're by yourself. It's all uphill on the way back. You're going so slow that you just, you get a little dejected, but you don't know like that's the speed everybody went up that hill. You know what I mean? It's because there's nothing to compare it to. It's just you and the elements. So it's pretty good to have some carrots out here to chase, and just sometimes, being able to see that you're still going pretty good compared to some of the competitors.
Yeah, I felt lucky at the Pyru time trial. I was able to see you just about the whole time, but not a other soul for the most part, except at the turnaround. And here, it was nice to see somebody almost the whole time you were out there, whether it was somebody who had just passed you. Just having somebody in sight is definitely motivating.
Yeah, and it's funny how different time trials are, because this one has a lot of turns, even though it's not like a lot of sharp turns. So someone can be just a couple 100 yards in front of you or 100 yards in front of you, and you may not be able to see them. And I think Pyru is pretty straight, pretty much straight, a little bit of rolling hills, and all downhill and then all uphill.
Yeah, we'll definitely come back. This was a lot of fun. Look forward to, suffering a little bit more, shaving maybe a minute or two off of my time. It's fun to have the measuring stick of a certain distance and be able to kind of test your times on different courses. And then obviously weather conditions play into that. So wind, I've heard that the marine layer here is thick sometimes, so that would add a factor. Also be a little bit slower with a heavier marine layer. Today it was just windy, but not as heavy of a marine layer. It actually looks beautiful. I think the video looks great. The clouds look beautiful. It looks a lot brighter than I recall. I think it felt a lot darker, overcast.
Yeah, the camera lens brings in more light than our natural eye does. So, but yeah.
So you're telling me it looks deceiving? It didn't look this nice.
That's correct. It was a little darker.
Crazy. Okay.
But,
yeah, when we got there and warmed up, I was worried my dark glasses were going to be too dark because, it was just getting light when we got there to warm up, but the shaded glasses were perfect for the actual event.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because with all the elevation gain that it has at Pyru, your time was less than a minute difference. This only has 95 feet of climbing. I can't remember how much Pyru has, but wouldn't be surprised if it's, closer to 500 to 1,000 feet of climbing. I don't know how much it is, honestly. But I know it's way more climbing than this. And your time was pretty close to the same, and that just lets you know how strong the wind is. So it'd be interesting to see, later in the year when it heats up a little bit, what you'd be able to run without that stiff headwind.
Another factor at the Pyru is the downhill. So you definitely get up, 40, 45 miles per hour on the downhill, where here, because it's so flat, you're not getting up to those highest speeds either. So
yeah, I think you gave me like 10 miles per hour. I think I only got up to like 36 or something on Pyru. I don't think I was in the 40s, but I could be wrong, but I don't think I was in the 40s. Maybe 36 or something.
I don't know.
39. I don't know. I don't remember 45, but
now you make me want to go back and look.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there will definitely be some gains just the more we get familiar with our time trial bikes, and getting a fit I think will do a lot also. I know for sure shifting more effectively will do something, and then just as being comfortable in the aero bars and familiar with courses, I think will shave time.
Yeah, for sure. A bike fit is a must. I mean, we're well overdue with bike fits on. I don't think either one of us had a bike fit on our road bikes since pre-COVID, and definitely we haven't had a bike fit at all on these TT bikes. So yeah, that's definitely in our near future.
I know I still have a PA gift certificate to use also, so that's a year old. I hope it doesn't expire, but hopefully we're coming to get a bike fit soon.
That's with Coach Rick Babington.
Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, we haven't used Rick before. We used to use Abe at InCycle, which of course Abe moved to Pasadena now to be the manager of that store, and Rick's one of our club members, and he's a longtime coach, well-respected, well-known coach. I think he coached the Olympic, maybe the, I don't know if it was Paralympics this last year that was in Japan. But yeah, he's coached in the Olympics, cycling, and he's just a good, well-known coach, kind of recognized nationally and beyond. So yeah, I might have to give him a shot, and he gives us a discount also just for being PAA members. So.
Speaking of PAA, this was the first time I was in my new skin suit, so I was out here sporting the new kit and looking forward to the days where I don't have to wear arm and leg warmers and can just be out in the suit with the elements. But today was a day that needed the leg and arm warmers.
Yeah, I think the new kits look nice. Probably should have modeled them a little bit and got some pictures here, but they'll be shown at CBR next Saturday or next Sunday, sorry. But yeah, I like the new kits. They're a big difference from from the kit the previous 2 years, and I think we'll all unveil those as a team on Sunday at CBR number 2.
Well, some of you hopefully will get to see it here with a little thumbnail of the podium. When there's only one in the category, you're guaranteed a top spot on the podium as long as you finish.
Yeah, that would be kind of crazy to beat yourself. Yeah, maybe crash yourself and not get the win when it's one of one. I'm sure it's happened before, but yeah, that would be definitely not the way to go. So,
thankfully, not today. So it looks like we have just a little less than half a lap left. I think this lap I was down to maybe 17 miles an hour, which is the slowest that I saw. The wind seemed a little heavier. I also could have been just more fatigued as well. But here my cadence is down in the 70s and I'm at 18 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is your cadence and just probably some fatigue because you're still putting in a decent amount of watts, but at a much slower cadence. And yeah, unless you're moving a bigger gear, you're going to be going slower, which obviously you are going slower. So yeah, I think definitely could have, especially going against the wind. Like they say, when it's breezy, spin easy. But yeah, you definitely could have a higher cadence here with this headwind.
I didn't know that was a phrase on the bike as well as in golf.
Yep.
Well, similar at least.
Yep. When it's breezy, swing easy. When it's breezy, spin easy.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah.
Never heard that on the bike, but now I have.
Yeah,
So there you just saw one of the vehicles with the flashing lights. I think there was 3 of those on the course. And I know some people were kind of wondering what they were doing out there and found out later that they were the officials. So, yeah, a little bit different. They were probably happy to have the vehicle and out of the elements.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you have so many officials around the course on like a time trial, but in a crit race, there's like no one. It's just start-finish line only, and no one on the backside of a course in a crit race. So, or even some of the circuit and road races. So, yeah, it's just funny, and I'm guessing they're just making sure people aren't drafting. Is all I can think of, really.
Yeah, that is interesting. Now that you mention it. Yeah, don't know if they're doing that or preventing, if there's other ways for people to get on the course. So here we're coming to the end, and I will go to the right of the cones and finish. You're supposed to call out your number, so I was able to do that. So anyway, another great ride. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.